Welcome to this APA workshop. This presentation briefly overviews the elements of APA reference and in-text citations. We will introduce some helpful aids when creating citations or using information from your research sources. My name is Betty Rue. I am a librarian at Lone Star College, University Park. Let's get started. This slide shows the first page of the APA citation guide. You will note that there is a URL that you can bookmark, and this would be a ready resource. This tutorial will not cover everything, but this guide will reach much further, much deeper into APA rules and citation. One thing about the guide on this first page that I do want to point out is right here, and that is an APA paper template. When you click on the link here, the template will download onto your device, open up into probably a Word document, and you will find the placeholders for a cover page, the paper itself, and the references page. Those are the three major components of APA papers. They'll all be there in the template. All the pages will align to the APA rules for paper format, such as the header, the margins, the font, the spacing, etc. And on that very last page, your references page, where you'll have all of your citations listed, there is a hang-in indent programmed onto that page. Also in this guide is information about the different information types. The elements, many of the elements for a citation are shared, but each information type has specific details. These tabs will take you to pages to cover that information, as well as you'll see an annotated bibliography page, a more help page, and all kinds of ways to ask us questions if you find that you have additional questions. So why is citation so important? Well, it gives credit to the original creator of ideas or words that you use that are from a book or from an article. Using the citation protects you from plagiarism. As you use the information from the original source, that citation gives credit to the source. Citation gives your essay or your paper credibility, as these citations show the use of ideas or words from experts or authorities on the discipline or topic to support your statements. Someone who reads your article knows from those citations that this is not just information that you think is correct, but it's actually supported by experts within the field. Citation also serves the purpose of providing enough information for your reader to go to that source and learn more. Now, a APA citation on the references page, you'll see the basic framework or anatomy of that citation, beginning with the author's last name. So when you have the author as the first component, the last name will come first, comma, first initial, period. In the guide that we were just talking about, you'll find how various or several authors should be formatted. This is simply the basic format. And then after that period, you'll have the year published. And notice these two examples. The year of publication is in parentheses. And then you have the period. The article title is in sentence case. That would mean that only that first word of the title is is capitalized. The first letter of the first word is capitalized. Other than, I think in this second example, you'll see that there are some proper nouns, of course, that would be capitalized. Otherwise, it would be a sentence case. The next component, and there's a period after the title, next component in italics is the name of the journal. And then this example down here gives the name of the journal, and you'll see after the name is a comma, and then you may have the volume. You put the number followed by the issue number, comma, and then the page range. You'll find that journals will have the volume and the issue number, whereas other resources are not likely to have that component within the citation. From the full citation on the references page, you will be able to create your in-text. The in-text is the component that goes inside your paper as you use words or ideas or quotes from the authors. Right at that point, before the sentence ends, you'll have a parenthesis that begins the in-text. The author's last names. Notice that ampersands are acceptable, are used by APA. You'll have a comma, the publication year, comma, and then you will have the page, the actual page, where that particular piece of information comes from. And it'll actually be just a P. If it were several pages, it would be PP, but 76, parenthesis closed, and then you have the ending of your sentence with the period. The reference element actually answers questions about the item that you're using. The questions are who, when, what, and where. The author being the who said it. The date being the when it was said and written. And then you have the title, which answers the what. And the source is the where. The answer to the where. Now, the source has more than one component. The source would be the name of the journal. If it's a print book, it would be the page numbers. If it is a digital resource, then it would be a URL or a DOI. A DOI, actually, URLs are not really used for APA unless it's a source where that it is truly the best way to be able to find that source. Then you use the URL. Where do you find these pieces that make up a citation for APA? This is an image of an article that is pulled from a journal that is within a database. And you will see that the author's names are the first component that you look for, correct? And those authors' names are under the title of the article. This is a scholarly article. So in scholarly articles, you're always going to have authors, but you're also going to have their credentials. These two individuals are from Emory University doing their research. And then this page is color-coded so that you can see what is the work called is in the light yellow. Where can I retrieve this work is in the green, and so forth. So you're answering all those questions, what, who, when, and where within your citation with this format. The periods, the italics areas, all of that is important to have a correct APA citation. Whereas when you're using a Google search and you're on the web, this is an example of an article coming from Psychology Today, which is an excellent resource, but it's not a library database resource. So you do need to select those web sources very carefully. They do need to be credible. You have to have that information, that proof of credibility. And a lot of web pages make it rather hard to find these components for a citation. So Psychology Today makes it quite easy, and you can see that the author is placed right here. And working with Psychology Today, you'll see that the authors do have credentials associated with them so that you can know that this is good content. And when I say good content, I'm talking about credible content that's written by experts. Information is supported by authorities within the discipline. You may be able to find the elements easily like you can with Psychology Today, but most web pages don't make it easy. And be aware of junk on the web. One of the most common questions librarians receive is how to cite a web page. Many times as we work with a student through a citation on a web page, we find no author name, no publisher, no publication date. In essence, without these elements, no credibility. Professors want credible sources, and you do also. We recommend that you look to the articles first in the library databases. Find credible information that is easy to cite. And this page shows those elements that you're looking for from a web page or from any other source, really. Author, date, title, the website name, the URL or the DOI, and a retrieved date is good if you're using a URL. When do you cite? You want to document all the ideas, the facts, the data used in your essay that are not common knowledge. Cite only works that you've read and ideas that you have incorporated into your writing. In-text citations are needed both for paraphrases and for quotations. Paraphrases are when you read the information, you understand it, and then you explain the idea or the information in your own words. Quotations, on the other hand, you use the exact words from your source and you place those words in quotation marks. So you can see those two examples here. A direct quote may be introduced by your first words of your sentence. Then as the direct quote begins, you have your quotation marks, and then the quotation marks end. And before you end your sentence, you place your in-text. The paraphrase works much the same way, except now you're taking this information and instead of using the author's words, you are paraphrasing. You're using your own words to say the same thing, and then it ends with that in-text citation. And the APA style that we are teaching and using at Lone Star is the author date citation format, where you're using the author and the date of the publication. And also understand that you may have group authors, you may not have an author. Many times a publication from the government might be a very good resource to be using, but you won't have an individual author. You'll have a group author. Or perhaps you're using a publication from the American Psychological Association, and there's no author. Well, the group, the APA, would be your group author. So there's always a type of author that you're using. And if there isn't an author of any sort, you might consider using another source. But sometimes if you do not have an author, if it is a good source, then you'll find yourself go into the next element, which would be the title of the source, and that would become the first element of your in-text citation, followed by the year of publication. And that may be a little bit confusing. Again, I refer you to the guide that we looked at briefly and that hopefully you bookmarked, because you will have these questions. The relationship between a reference list entry, that is a citation on your references page, and the in-text citation that is inside your paper. They give context to each other. You know within your paper where you're using your information from, simply because of this author's name. And then within the reference list, the author's name is going to be coming first, and your reference list is going to be alphabetized. So it becomes very easy for your readers to find that source. If you have an in-text, you must have a reference on your reference page. If you have a reference or a citation on your reference page, you must have somewhere in your paper a spot where you are actually using and giving credit to that author. And you can see here, this assignment, this essay, has only 3 resources. They are alphabetized. And each time the resources are being used within the paper, then you have an in-text citation. Now, interestingly enough, this example is showing you a narrative citation, and that's perfectly fine. It gives some variation to your writing, but a narrative citation is when you use the author's name as part of the sentence. So it becomes part of the sentence. It doesn't need to be in the parentheses, but you do need that in text, which begins right next to the author's name. You have a parenthesis, you have the date of publication, comma, and then you have page number. Sometimes you don't have a page number. If you don't have a page number, it's just the date of publication with parentheses and closing up your in-text. And so now you have an activity, an opportunity to apply your knowledge and skill. You will go to this APA tutorial, and here is the link. This activity, once you're completed, will have a certificate of completion for you to share with your professor. Thank you, and please always ask questions. We're here. You can find us. When you look at the guide, you can find all kinds of ways to contact us. Thank you.